Welcome to the Heal with Kelly podcast. I'm Kelly Noonan Gores, and every week I speak to the leading doctors, healers, spiritual teachers, and scientists to find out what is truly possible when it comes to healing. I also interview real people with extraordinary healing stories. My philosophy is, what's possible for one is possible for all. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful journey of remembering our divine nature and tapping into the truths that shall set us free. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Heal with Kelly podcast, and welcome to 2025. This is so exciting. Usually I get very excited for a new year, as do all of you, but this one is especially exciting because I am just leaving one of the most intense years of my life. You guys have heard me allude to it before on many of the podcasts throughout this year. And each of the guests that I've interviewed, I'm so grateful for them coming on the podcast because it seemed to be the exact message, the wisdom, the tools that I needed to navigate this fire, this valley that I was walking through this past year. So I look back now that I'm kind of through the fire, through the valley, or at least the first phase of it. I can look back with gratitude and just be so grateful for all of the support and all of you who kind of held me up along the way. So thank you. I think I just want to reflect on 2024, all of these big learnings that I had, and recap this amazing event that I just attended by the grace of God 2 weeks ago, the Tony and Sage Robbins, Your Date with Destiny. Because it truly changed my life. I mean, I know that when you leave these things, you're pumped up and you're amped and inspired, and maybe it tapers off over time, but there was a few profound shifts that I want to share with you because I am forever changed, and I could not be more grateful for these changes because it's really changed the course of my life, I believe. So I want to talk about everything I learned there, or, if I would talked about everything, we'd be here a long time because there were 15-hour days and some deep dives. I mean, Tony Robbins has been doing this work for 48 years and teaching it and living it, and has an intensity that is unmatched in any other human that I've met in my life. And his beautiful, angelic light of a wife, who's also a force. You can't be with a man like that and not be your own force to hold that energy and container. Just his beautiful wife, Sage. I'm so grateful that they invited me to this event. So we'll get into that and then just kind of set some tones for 2025 so we can go in leaping and launching into the greatest versions of ourselves. So let's see. Why was last year the most intense year of my life? Well, if you listen to the Marianne Williamson episode, which I think released a couple weeks ago about the mystic Jesus, I announced that I'm going through a divorce. So my marriage of almost 8 years, we've been married for 8 years now, and I've been in love with the man for 14 years, which is when we started dating. We've been together for 12 years. And it was about a 1.5 year conversation to figure out how to make this work for both of us moving forward. And we ultimately decided in June of this year to separate. And it was excruciating. Even though I initiated the conversation, neither of us wanted this. And it was extremely heartbreaking. This is not for a lack of love. I love this man deeply and madly and tremendously, and have so much respect for him. So grateful for everything I've learned, everything that he has taught me, and just the adventures and the growth that we've had together. He truly was my best friend, and it's hard. It's so hard relationships are hard in general, but in our case, we don't need to go into the details. I'd like to keep it private, but there was a lot of external dynamics to navigate, very complex ones. And in the end, we just have different ways of processing life and navigating these challenges. And we did our best. Neither was right or wrong. Mistakes were made on both sides. And sometimes these external forces are perhaps nudging us down a different path or calling us to look at ourselves and grow in a new way. And um, staying together just proved to be painful for both of us in a lot of ways. And we both deserve to thrive. And so it is heartbreaking. I mean, I cried more this year than my cumulative other 44 years of my life. I went through such intense feeling, the full gamut of rage, anger, sadness, grief, so much grief. We're never taught how to grieve properly. I was on the floor in a ball, like with waves of intense emotion coming over me, not knowing how to navigate them. And, I have every tool in the toolbox and I have access to the most amazing support system and healers and teachers and therapists and friends and loved ones. And I still struggled to navigate it. So, my heart goes out to anyone that's going through heartbreak, loss. Um, and I know that there's so many more tremendously painful things happening in the world and happening with some of you. So just my heart goes out to you. And I just encourage you to keep moving forward and being with people you love and taking it a step at a time, because being on the other side of that and really taking the 6 months to process and digest and release emotion and go through that was very healing. And so it does get better. But there were times where I was like, this is gnarly, 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 gnarly. So thank you for all the support and the love and the well wishes. This is not fun. Neither of us chose this, but we will continue to love and respect and be allies in this process. So that's that. My dear friend, as I mentioned before, Sage Robbins, Earth Angel Sage, she knew what I was going through. So she extended the invitation to attend your date with Destiny a few weeks ago. And I was shocked that I had never attended a Tony Robbins event before, because it seems so me, right? But I took the leap and I knew it was like long days and stuff. I had no idea. I was not prepared for the intensity of like 6 15-hour days starting at 10, 11 a.m., going till 2, 3 a.m. So that was tough to navigate. All the whooping, I'm not like a big crowd fan. So to be in a room with a few thousand people was intimidating. I'm just energetically really sensitive. So I was nervous about that. And then like the dancing and the cheering, and I'm almost a little judgmental. I'm like, dude, come on. And of course, by day 6, I'm like, like freaking out. But Tony did address that at the beginning, there is a rhyme and a reason, and to get our bodies in this energetic state and to keep our energy up and to do these long days with a specific formula that he's crafted over 48 years of doing this deep personal development work. There is a formula and a rhyme and a reason, and it's all about resetting our nervous system, rewiring our system, and the whooping, the hollering, the long days, and the deep dive into self-reflection are all a part of it. So it made sense, and I went all in, and my life is forever changed. So first off, thank you, Tony and Sage, from the bottom of my heart. I was excited to see that I had some old friends there that I had no idea were going to be there. I just thought I was going to roll in solo and do the best I can. So when I saw Julianne Hough walk in, my just sweet sister, she is also an earth angel, a dynamic light, and just a little joy baby. I was so grateful that she was there, along with our dear friend John Amaral, this incredible healer. He was there to support me through a migraine. And then Tamar Geller, bless, I love you, and Elizabeth Goober. So I had some old friends there, and then I got the opportunity, of course, through all this work and this group work, to meet some new friends. So shout out to my new loves, Baruch and Nikhil and Kevin and Alex and so many more, Jen. I'm just so grateful that we're on this journey together and got to witness some serious transformation in each other. Okay, so we covered so much, but I just want to touch on a few of the things that kind of work through the big ahas for me. So we talked about that all humans have these 6 basic needs that drive behavior, right? And the first one is certainty. security, safety, certainty. The second one is uncertainty. We need variety. We need, if everything was just certain and safe, we would die because we wouldn't grow. So we need variety. We need uncertainty to keep us on the edge. The third is significance. We need to feel special. And the fourth is love and connection. So those are for the personality. Those are the basic human needs of the personality. Then there's two of the spirit, and that is to grow. We need to constantly be growing. If we are not growing, we are dying. And to serve and contribute. We are here to express love and connect and to serve, to be in service to humanity. And it was really beautiful because as inspiring and fired up and like such an achiever that Tony Robbins is, you could tell that he is doing his work for service. So, and we'll talk about this. I mean, he took his life's experiences, and Tony's were not pleasant. He was abused by his mother. We go into all of that story, and it has led him to become this force of good in the world that he is today. So one of the overarching themes that we will talk about this past year and what I learned in this event was, do we like the experiences that we went through? No. Do we like the person that we've become as a result? 1,000%. So that is the beauty. All of these challenges, all of these tragedies, all of these traumas shape us into the person we are meant to become. So once we are through it, whether it's maybe a cancer journey or divorce or a loss of job or losing someone close to us, all of those things call us to step up into a greater version of ourselves. And so at some point we look back and we are grateful for that experience, even though it wasn't fun to go through. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So we have the 6 basic needs: certainty, uncertainty and variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and service and contribution. And all human beings are consistently seeking to meet their 6 human needs. And we all tend to value 2 more than others. So what this means is when people are doing unconscious and unconscionable things in our life, these people that are causing us pain and suffering in our perception, they are just going after getting their needs met. So whether you're Nelson Mandela or you're Jeffrey Dahmer, your behaviors are going after a certain needs. Obviously, there's some ancestral wiring that's going on that leads you to take the path of Dahmer or Nelson Mandela. But when you start to realize that people are just going after getting their needs met in the best way they know how, and if they're being driven by fear, it's probably not the best path. If they're being driven by love, it's going to be a bit more of a better path to take. But it enlightens so much. So, for instance, some of these external circumstances that put outside pressure on my relationship, they weren't pretty, and they brought up they just these people in various forms that were, in my perception and our perception, were lying, cheating, stealing, trying to destroy our relationship. It sounds a bit dramatic, but there's a few different versions of this over the past 5 years, but really in the last 3. All of those people and the rage that has come up in me, and the injustice, because we let people into our lives, let people into our inner circle, into our home that we trusted, and we were so generous to these people. We gave them opportunities. We made them part of our family. We let them into our lives, and they just had these kind of vile, vicious intentions and motives at the end. They were driven by greed, entitlement, envy, and ultimately fear, right? So once I started to learn that people were going after their basic needs in the best way they know how, you can kind of start to take things less personally, and you can pull back and trust that there's this divine orchestration with our lives that have been crafted by perhaps our soul and source, for our greatest evolution. So we are spiritual beings. This is my belief, having a human experience. We chose to come in here and go on this path for our soul's evolution. We're here on this earth school. And when we can pull back and understand what's driving human behavior, we can start to take things less personally, and we can know that these bad actors are just playing the roles of villains and opponents in this divine play that is meant for us to experience in Earth School to evolve for our soul's evolution. So that was the first thing. I was just like, okay, I get it. You can take it less personally. These people are just being driven from fear, by fear, and it makes them do unconscious, really shitty things, you know? I haven't been perfectly conscious my whole life. I have made mistakes, and I try to amend those mistakes and do better. So I don't know. It's just so healing to understand what drives human behavior and to know that these people that have offended you, attacked you, violated you, abused you, they're doing the best they can, and they're being driven by these basic human needs. Tony actually shared a story that my chiropractor had shared with me right before I went on the trip to the event, and it applies here. And it's the frog and the scorpion story. Actually, Sage told the story so cutely in the event, but it goes like this. A frog is sitting by the side of the river, and a scorpion comes along and says, "Hey, frog, I need to get to the other side of the river. Do you mind if I hop on your back and you swim over there and carry me across safely?" And the frog looks at the scorpion and is like, no, I can't take you across the river because you're gonna, what if you sting me and I die?" And the scorpion says, "Well, I would never do that. I would never sting you because that means you die and we both drown. Why would I do that?" Frog thought about it and was like, okay. Lets the scorpion get on his back, starts swimming across. And halfway across the river, scorpion just goes, stings the frog. Frog is like getting woozy and looks up at him like, why? Why would you do that? And the scorpion, as they're going under, blah, 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 he's like, "I'm a scorpion. It's what I do." And they both die. So all of this to say, you can't change a scorpion. And when you go through something like this, one of the biggest learnings that I learned is that I was trying to change people through generosity, which is some kind of, of course the intention is pure, but also it was to manipulate so that my environment could be more peaceful, and that if I make people happy, I'll be safe and I can trust them. Well, you can't change a scorpion. They sting you. It's what they do. So going through these experiences takes you to the next level because it hones your skills. I now have this new set of skills where I can discern, I can feel in my body what it feels like if something is out of alignment or someone is not really who they say they are. And I'll probably make more mistakes, but I have new skills now because of these opponents. And I didn't trust my instinct, or I didn't follow through on my instinct with these people. And they burned me. They burned us. And it's really hurtful, but you become stronger and smarter and more discerning. And you start to have stronger boundaries. And you can be loving and generous while still having boundaries. But you're just up leveling your game of life and protecting your space and your energy. And I wouldn't be doing that if I didn't have these betrayals and hurts. So again, another thing to be grateful for, and you're up leveling. You develop new skills and you tune in. You're a little bit more present and aware with your intuition. So you don't have to go through these things again and again and again. The other thing we talked about is the 5 givens. And I don't remember the person where Tony got this from. It's an author. I think the book is actually called 5 Givens. But 5 Givens is, and when you know these, you can kind of let go because you're not resisting life, because you just know they're givens. It's a given part of this experience, that's not always pretty or fun. So first one, everything changes, everything ends. So it's kind of the concept of like seasons, and where life is in this natural growth, death cycle, right? So things renew themselves and move through cycles in order to further evolution. So even relationships, right? They have their cycles. Second one, things don't always go as planned. So when that happens, it gives us this opportunity to go, oh, there is a divine plan at play here that may have more intelligence driving it than our own small, limited brains here in this human body. So once I've been just living in this new state of flow, and I'm not perfect at it, but I'm definitely more in practice, where if things don't go as planned, I go, okay, it shouldn't be that way because something better is around the corner, something different. And I just like a bowling ball with in an alley with bumpers, you just kind of bump off and go, okay, what's next? Show me, God, show me what else and what better you have in store for me. And it helps us let go of attachment. So the third one is life is not always fair. Well, no shit. No. But when life is not always fair, there's something beautiful about humanity. And for most people, they're really doing the best they can. And even though life is not always fair, they're still keeping the value of fairness. They're committed to being fair and not succumbing to that seduction of like, well, they did this to me, so I can do it back, eye for an eye, justification of bad things. So it's nice that the majority of humanity is not retaliatory and will sink to levels so low as to what's been done to them. So that's hopeful. The next one is pain is part of life, but suffering is a choice. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice, and suffering, as we've heard in many different ways, is not in the facts of what happened. It's in our perception of the facts. It's in the story that we attach to what's going on. And pain can actually be a portal to growth, evolution, transformation. Pain can expand our powers to handle future pain, to be more intelligent, to be more present, to be more aware. So pain is a gift and it's a part of life, but suffering is a choice. And then the last one is people are not always loyal and loving all of the time. That is true. Not much else to say about that. But afterwards, he says, no human action can take away another human being's capacity to love. I always think of Viktor Frankl in A Man's Search for Meaning. And in the face of the most horrific atrocities a human could endure, in the Holocaust, Victor found that nobody could take away his joy, faith, strength, no matter what was going on externally. And that's true power. And so that's cool. So recap, 5 givens. Everything changes, everything ends. Let it go, let it go. Things don't always go as planned, which means that there might be a larger, better, more divine plan at play. Life is not always fair. Pain is a part of life, but suffering is a choice. And people are not always loving or loyal all the time. And I mean, are you? I know I'm not. I try to be. We're doing our best. Let's continue to do our best. But it's something to be aware of. And then Tony talked a lot about the hero's journey. And this is where one of the biggest ahas came for me. And he talked about the quality of the hero, the strength of the hero, the level of the hero is directly proportionate to the power, the evil, the darkness of the opponent, the strength of the opponent that he overcomes. So if you want to be the greatest version of yourself, you're probably going to have to overcome some pretty gnarly stuff, to walk through some pretty big fires in evolution. So he says, be grateful for worthy opponents. And when he talked about this, and he talked about the hero's journey and how all the greatest stories in human history they're usually stories from slavery to freedom, but they all go on this hero's journey, which you can look up and get more details to. But the point is, you meet an opponent. Sometimes it's an internal opponent. Sometimes it's an external opponent, oftentimes. But in the overcoming of this opponent, you become the next level of the greatest version of yourself and the superhero in your own life. And so when I started thinking about being grateful for worthy opponents, the people and the external circumstances that I've had to navigate in the last few years that have really just put a lot of pressure on my relationship and my health and just life. And I know intellectually they're my greatest teachers. I know that they're doing the best they can with what they know. I know they're driven by fear. Intellectually, I know. But emotionally in my heart, I'm still freaking hurt. I'm still pissed at betrayal, at violation of being let into my inner circle and my most intimate spaces, and to not be honest and to lie, cheat, steal, and just betray. But they're worthy opponents. And I literally, because of this work, and we're going to talk about values in a second, because of what I've learned from this event, Your Date with Destiny, I'm looking at everything in such a new light. And I'm so grateful for these worthy opponents, because the amount of intelligence, strength, resilience, awareness, and wisdom, and now discernment that I've gained from these experiences is incredible. It's a gift. I am a better, stronger, more aware person because of it, and a much wiser person. And I will be much more discerning going forward and trusting in my instinct of who I let in my spaces, who I let in my life, who I let into my inner circle. I couldn't be here without those experiences. So thank you. And we're going to go through the work that I've done and continue to do. It's a daily practice. I am not perfect. I fall back all the time into a little bit of being triggered. But so much has shifted that this is the new way. And this is the new way of the age of Aquarius. It's the way of the heart. So we'll get into that. So worthy opponents. It could be a cancer diagnosis. Worthy opponents could be the loss of a loved one. And it's just a new way to go, okay, I'm being called to connect to a deeper part of myself, a deeper truth, and really look at aspects of my life and really go on the adventure of realigning with your true path and purpose. And it's a fire. It's an alchemical fire, and there's heat and there's pressure. But on the other side of it, just like with the majority of people, probably 100% of the people that I've talked to who have healed from cancer, of all stages, they hated the process. They wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy. But they look back and they wouldn't change a thing because it offered them the greatest gift, slavery to freedom, the greatest gift of their life. And they are just so grateful for the person they've become. And as Tony Robbins says, do I like what I went through? Do I like what happened to me? No, hell no. But do I like who I've become as a result? 1,000%. So again, knowing that people are driven by fear, especially now. This is an intense time to live in the world. A lot of outside influences kind of pulling us to the extremes. Seeing life through this lens, it just gives us the ability to have more compassion for people and to say, okay, I'm grateful for worthy opponents. They are actors in my divine play that I've co-created with Source to propel me on the next stage of my soul's evolution. So that's what's going on there. And so let's see. A couple other things that Tony said that along these same lines were, we can't control the outside world, but we can influence it. The quality of my life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty I can be comfortable with. You change and grow in uncertainty. Woo! A lot of uncertainty when you're unwinding a 14-year relationship and best friendship, and a lot of change and growth and beauty and gifts as well. And he says, you are growing or you are dying. If you don't proactively seek out growth opportunities, perhaps life sometimes nudges you down a path where you will meet one of these worthy opponents. So go to a Tony Robbins event and actively seek out growth opportunities. That's my advice to you. Another thing he says, mind is a great tool for strategy, but it won't make you happy. Only the heart can do that. And that's the nugget. My whole thing going into 2025 is moving from the head to the heart. And I interviewed a few people that this has been a running theme throughout the fall, like Kimberly Snyder, The Power of the Five Hearts. I'm having her back on the podcast in a couple weeks because this is how important it is. This is the new age of Aquarius. This is where we move from fear to love, and it's just making this the bridge from the head to the heart and dropping into the heart. So he also says, make your goals tough to achieve, but your values easy to feel. So your goals tough to achieve. Go beyond, go for your dreams, go for your desires. Make those goals tough to achieve. Push beyond what you think is possible and go after that, what lights you up. But make your values easy to feel. Values. I want to talk about values because this is the other aha that completely changed the course and the quality and the tone of my life. And I am so grateful. So he talks about toward values. What are the most important things that drive you in your life? And so we make this list and then we look at them, we put them in the order of importance. And then once we learn and go through the process, then we make a new list of what's actually running the show in the new life, in the new person that we want to become. So in the old Kelly was driven by success, freedom, and security. Those were the top three most important things driving me. And it's because of my childhood and my parents always kind of had, in my perception, this is again a child's perception, there was always fighting and tension and stress around money. And I felt that my mom maybe didn't have the freedom that she wanted to. I certainly didn't have the spending freedom, but I didn't know that she had the actual freedom to like leave if she wanted to, because she wasn't the breadwinner. She was just, a great stay-at-home mom. And security because of the fighting about money. So I was like, I'm going to be driven. If I can make enough success, if I can achieve enough, I will be free and I will be safe and can rely on nobody else for my freedom and safety. Well, what we learned through this process is that causes a lot of tension in my body. There's a lot of pressure to be successful, to achieve. It's a very masculine drive. And for a feminine being, sometimes there's a little friction there, a lot. And what I realized, and I'm just going to try to keep this short and simple, is that there's been this underlying tonality of frustration. And I always kind of attributed it to my dad's like perfectionism, and he was raised by a Marine, alcoholic. So there was just a lot of like tension and pressure to be perfect. And that was passed down in his own expression. And so I had this tension to be perfect and not make mistakes and not fail because there was this need to achieve, to be loved and be safe. And so cut to now that I'm aware of this, I've been looking, throughout the last 5 years of my life and raising my daughter, there's just been this underlying tone of frustration. And again, I was attributing it to my childhood, but now I'm just saying, oh, it's driven by these values. Of course, there's frustration if the to-do list becomes more important than being present with my daughter. And all of this is subconscious. I don't know that this is driving me. Now that Tony and Sage have made me aware of this, massive light bulb goes off. I look at my driving values, and my work is love. I want to, every time I achieve, every time I get something, I want to share what I have with my loved ones. I want to live life and indulge in amazing experiences and share them with my best friends and my family. And my daughter, of course. It drives me. My work, heal, is an act of love. I learned, I was empowered and inspired, and I wanted to share that wisdom and what I learned and all of my teachers with others to empower and inspire them, to give them their power back. My work is driven by love. And based on Anita Moorjani's near-death experience, what I believe, and many others that align, what I believe is that we are love. We come from love. She went into the other realm and experienced this love that surpasses all human understanding, this feeling of expansion that there's no human language or words for. And that is source, that is God. And we are these little divine expressions, these rays of love and light that are having these human limited experiences so that we can experience this full spectrum of pain and pleasure and sensation and growth. Hard to grow when there's no friction in this other realm of love. So we are love. We come from love. My first value now that's driving me is love. It's my work. It's my nature. Second value is health and vitality. It wasn't even on my first list, which is wild because I'm in the health and wellness world. But we are love on a spiritual sense, energetically, frequency. And then in this physical body, health and vitality is absolutely my next priority, because if I can up level my game, and I need to make some tweaks because I've kind of let my health and vitality go a little bit. If you're feeling good and energized and resilient, you can do anything. You can leap forward in massive action. You can handle the inspiration. You can pursue and achieve your dreams. So love, health and vitality. The third one is gratitude and awe, because that is where my divine connection comes in. I feel closest to God, closest to truth when I'm in gratitude. And gratitude can shift you out of fear and anger and intensity in a heartbeat. Gratitude can shift your state where you can become a magnet for more things to be grateful for. Gratitude and awe, to be able to look around at nature, a sunset, the eyes of your child, your own eyes in a mirror. To be in awe is to be connected to God, to source, to spirit, to an intelligence, to the field, whatever terms or lens that you resonate with. Gratitude and awe is where we're meant to be, to give that like thanks, appreciation, and trust that there's this higher intelligence at play that's orchestrating everything and keeping the planets aligned and the cosmos and just all of nature in its cycles of birth, death, recycle, repeat. So those are my three new values. And honestly, now what that's done is of course, I'm still going to be an achiever. I'm an Aries. I'm a projector. I have that fire. I'm a fire in the Chinese element. So I'm always going to be an achiever, but now the driving force underneath is for love, which takes away this pressure. And I apply that love to not only the service, the intention of my work, but I apply that love obviously to my daughter, and I apply it to myself. Progress over perfection. So I can have a little more grace and ease. When we're striving and driven by success, there's just this like tension and this need to get the to-do list done. And if it doesn't happen, then it's frustration and expectations not met. If you're in love and if you're in your heart, you can just kind of flow a little bit more. And when the world shows you a no or a rejection, you can literally go, okay, this is God's protection and redirection. It's allowing more ease and flow and peace and presence. I can be so much more present with my daughter because I'm not just clouded by stress and all of the things that I need to get done in order to achieve, to feel safe and significant. So again, changes everything. And the last thing I'll say about that, as I am now in this driving value of love, it has helped me to handle these worthy opponents in a new way. And it's just shifting everything inside of me. And one of the tools I use to be love and to be in love is Ho'oponopono, which we did at the Tony Robbins event. And it's this Hawaiian kahuna prayer they've been doing for thousands of years in Hawaii. And it's this power of the frequency of the language. And basically, you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And the resonance of those words and that prayer does something to shift the energy, and it connects humans. I mean, this 3D life that we're in, it's this illusion, right? We have this illusion of separation. We forget that we are divine. We forget that once we go back and we shed these meat suits, we are all connected, just like Anita Morjani's beautiful experience with her father. And there's no judgment, there's no negativity. There's just this like formless love juice that we're basking in, until we come back and do it again and learn something new. So we are all one. We come from the same source of love. We go back to the same source of love, and we're here being divine actors in each other's plays for each other's growth. And that just helps. So for those people that were causing me so much strife and these, lying, cheating, stealing, betraying, all these perceived wrongs that I felt they were doing and causing so much pain and stress on my life, I've just been doing Ho'oponopono with them, imagining them in front of me. And I'm able to honestly look at them with compassion now. And selfishly, I feel so much better. I feel so much lighter. I've shed resentment, anger, rage, disgust, and I am just in this new vibration of love. And before I'd be like looking at my watch going, God, when is karma gonna serve them the motherfucking bill? You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen. I know it's inevitable. But ultimately, when you're driven by fear, when you're shrouded by fear, when you're unconscious, karma's already at play. You are living in a prison. And so knowing that and knowing everything I learned from Tony and Sage and being in my heart and just practicing on a daily basis, I am love and driven by love. It's shifted everything. And I can honestly have compassion for these worthy opponents that have caused me so much pain and suffering. Woo! So thank you. Get thee to a Tony Robbins event because it changes your life. Um, so the other thing I want to say is I haven't read the book yet, but Mel Robbins came out with this book. I'm sure you've all heard of her if you listen to my podcast. I'm sure you're following her. She's super inspiring. And it was just on Oprah. And she has a book, which I haven't read yet, and it's called The Let Them Theory. And that's also in the past couple months after I've heard her talking about it, it's like, let them, let them, let them. Again, we can't control life, but we can influence it. And how we influence it is controlling how we respond to it, getting ourselves into this beautiful, loving state, getting out of our heads and the stories that cause us suffering and keep us tied to the past and reliving our suffering, drop into our hearts and have these daily practices of love like Ho'oponopono and gratitude and awe and nature and presence. And you can kind of just let them. Let people do what they're going to do. Let people you love go on the journey of growth that their soul is choosing to go on, however painful and frightening it is for you. Let them. When we can trust, breathe, and recline into the faith that life is happening for us, that we will return to love, that there is a divine orchestration at work here that is far more intelligence than our tiny limited minds would ever imagine. We can flow with ease and dance with life rather than grip and resist and be in dis-ease. So that is my just that's the mission going into 2025 is ease, grace, flow. And I wish that for all of you. I wish that you are blessed with miracles, which come, as Marianne Williams says in the Course in Miracles, from a shift in perception, from changing and shifting from fear to love. That is when miracles occur. That is when we create heaven on earth. And again, I am forever changed. I love and I'm so grateful for you, Tony and Sage. So grateful. But it's also still a daily practice, guys. So learn and then practice. Practice love. Be the change you wish to see in the world. I'm sending you all so much love, so much strength. Let's be grateful for these worthy opponents that are taking us up to the next level. And let's hold each other on this process. I'm so grateful that you're here to listen and learn from me. And I know that each and every one of you have unique and incredible gifts to share on this planet. And you have incredible things to share back with me. So let's do this. Let's make 2025 the best year of our lives. And I just wish you all incredible, vital health, abundance, joy, and laughter. Peace and blessings. Thank you for listening to the Heal with Kelly podcast. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. And make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. Oh, and if you found this episode inspiring, please rate, review, and share Heal with Kelly so that we can grow our audience and reach more people. We truly appreciate it. Lots of love.